So if anybody's curious about the bird's opening, it's become one of my favorite openings in chess. I really like the bird's opening. If you're looking at this opening and you're saying, well, what the heck's the point of f4? I'm here to answer that question. I'm here to justify why this is a really good position. So there's a weakness, of course, which is that the dark squares become a serious threat against white, but in compensation, you get rapid development, you get flexible, easy to plan attack, and it's quite a nice position here. There's one thing you have to be wary of before we get into this. If you're ever going to play the bird's opening, you have to know how to play the Froms Gambit, right? Now, why is this such a bad move? This is a serious threat. After pawn takes, you can actually sack a second pawn, and it is best to take back. But I want you to notice, guys, and I told you, the big threat of this position is the dark squares. And now we have bishop and queen attacking these dark squares. And these diagonals need to be defended. You have to play knight to f3. This is going to hold the position together quite nicely. In this line, there's still a bunch of different ways to be tricky here. And one of them is to play g5. So g5 is really brutal, and it's going to come with a cost. So let's say you just say, oh, cool, open diagonal. I'm going to play b3 and basically just attack this diagonal. He's going to push, and he's going to attack. Well, I don't want to lose this piece. I'm going to move my knight out of the way. No big deal. We have queen h4, g3. And does anybody see the killing blow in this position? Why this is such a bad position for white? Because you do get a tempo on the queen, but losing on the spot. Does anybody know why? If you want to be classy and you really want to show your opponent that you know what you're doing, queen g3. Just play it with confidence, guys. You know why? It's mate either way, but it's simply because while both moves are brilliant, this is a queen sack. You have no choice but to take back. Bishop takes, and then, right? So you have to be wary. You have to defend this threat here on g5, and the way to do it is not what you think. How would you defend this threat? I'm curious what you would do here. G5. Yeah, so both queen g3 and bishop takes g3, exactly. Either or work. But how would you defend this threat? Yeah. A couple of people here know what they're doing. They study these positions quite well. g3. Our opponent is going to push g4, but now you have knight to h4. So in this position, it's not going to be the end of the world. You're going to be able to play bishop g2 at some point, and you're probably going to want to kettle this dark square bishop as well. But there's one more threat you have to watch out for, knight e7. If you see knight e7, you're going to want to play d4. And what is so scary about playing knight d7? Because on one hand, it blocks the queen out. But why is this a scary move for black? What makes this a scary move? Yeah, the h-file, exactly. So the reason why this is so scary is because after you play bishop g2, which, by the way, is the move I play in this position, even though it's not best, even though you actually want to play d4, I play bishop g2 first, expecting knight to g6, and you once again have to be careful. If you play the wrong move here, you're going to get in trouble. So I know you might be hesitant to open up the h-file, but you actually have to. If you ignore this threat, play like d4, knight is going to take back, queen h4. Now, it does not have the same sting because now we can go to f1, but you're still losing. You actually do want to go ahead and take this knight. The h-file gets opened up, and in this position, there's a tactic you must be aware of. Let's say I play e3, looking to take advantage of this diagonal. What tactic can be played on the spot that's winning for black? And it's another brilliant. Let me know if you see the tactic here for black. Yep, yeah, there you go. Rook h2, much better move. Now, when rook takes back, if rook takes back, bishop hits the rook, hits the king. King is forced to move over, bishop takes, and now we're down a pawn. The king's in the center of the board. And then, of course, if you ignore this threat, right? So, like, let's say the rook has taken on h2, and you ignore the threat completely and just, I don't know, kettle. Bishop just hangs. And, you know, you could have probably taken with the bishop first, too. But either way, you're going to lose. So, preemptively, the second you take that knight, what you're actually going to want to do is play d4. Isn't that wild? d4 actually completely defends every threat. And the reason is simple. Rook h2 is still played here. But in this position, Does anyone know the move that you play? This is a brilliant move still. This is a brilliant move, and it's an even game. But there is one move that can be played that saves it for white. It's only one move on this entire board. The bishop, the rook, the pawn. It saves everything. It holds the entire position together. It's really hard, guys. It's really hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's a tough position, and I got tricked by this when I first played it. So it happens, you know. It's actually just play queen d3. So, like I said, there were 3 threats. Threat number 1 is the check. The queen is now defending g3. Threat number 2, the rook. No problem. Bishop just takes back. And, I mean, you gotta be careful. You can't just develop this bishop here. I was thinking, what if you just develop the bishop, right? E4 is playable here, and this is actually good for white. The point is, you're fine. Now, the one threat you might not think is defended is the bishop, right? The bishop's hanging. However, guys, there are actually 2 moves here. So the most obvious move is queen e4, forking and hitting the king and the rook. Bishop e6 comes with a tempo, but we still win the rook, and now we're up in exchange. The second move is actually to play h8, and now this is actually much more devastating because of h6. Rook g1 is played, and you have to play king d2. You can't play this because of f6. Hits the rook, hits the king. You instead play this, and keep in mind this is not a valuable check because of this. Queen e7, you're going to defend this piece. Rook f8, king is going to move over, and it's kind of just losing here. What's my point, guys? My point is, if you're going to play the bird's opening, I know I got off into a side tangent here. If you're going to play the bird's opening, you have to be aware of the Froms Gambit.